Tiger Woods, Bryson DeChambeau, every pro swears by custom fitting. But does it actually help high handicap golfers? I've been playing with 10-year-old Ping G30 irons, and while they're solid, my shots always go left. Over the past decade, club technology has supposedly advanced with faster faces, better forgiveness, and AI-designed irons. But is it actually game-changing, or just clever marketing? I finally got fitted to find out, and the results? Not what I expected. Stick around to see what I learned and what might be holding your game back too. Here's where I was struggling before my fitting. My iron shots were inconsistent, my distances were unpredictable, and I wasn't sure if my irons were actually right for my swing. I've been playing every week, taking regular lessons, and even had a few pros tell me my shafts might not be the best fit. I always figured my struggles were just my swing, but after talking to fitters and testing different setups, I realized a lot of it was actually the clubs. My goals for the fitting are simple: fix my left miss, improve distance control, and get more forgiveness on off-center strikes. Plus, I need to know if my regular flex shafts are right for me, or part of the problem. I have no idea if my setup is helping or hurting my game. If you want to see what I've been playing with before this fitting, I'll link my what's in the bag here. First stop, Mizuno. And before jumping into irons, I started with their Swing DNA fitting. It's a data-driven system that finds the best shaft for your swing in just 3 swings. Sounds almost too easy, right? But the real test was seeing if it could handle my high handicap swings. It looks at tempo, how quickly I transition from backswing to downswing, toe down, how much the shaft bends at impact, kick angle, how far the shaft leans forward in the downswing, and release factor, when I actually let the club head go through impact. Even lie angle gets measured to make sure the club sits correctly at impact, something I never considered, but it turns out it's huge for accuracy. It's a system trusted by PGA Tour players and everyday golfers, and after seeing the numbers for myself, I can see why. When the data is right, the clubs just work. Instead of guessing, the shaft optimizer measures over 40 different swing data points: tempo, release, even how much the shaft bends during my swing. And here's the cool part: it doesn't care where the ball goes, just how I load the club. So even if I wasn't hitting it pure, the system would still give accurate recommendations. After 3 swings, the Mizuno Swing DNA system narrowed down over 50 shaft options to these top recommendations. The day before, I tested the Callaway Paradigm AI Smoke High launch irons, but I didn't love the feel of graphite. Unfortunately, I couldn't film that session, but I'll share my thoughts at the end. My head speed is 71 miles per hour, putting me between regular and stiff flex. Tempo 4, toe down 4, kick angle 7, release factor 5. All pointing to a shaft that balances stability and feel. Top recommendation, Dynamic Gold 95 S200, stiff 95 grams. Best fit for my swing. Impact data showed a 62.5 degree lie angle, slightly flat. A steep attack, minus 12 degrees to minus 7 degrees. And a closed face, minus 4 degrees. Which could explain my left misses. Could be my grip, but we'll see. Lie angle was standard, but my current ping clubs are red or orange dot, which might not be helping. Were these my best swings? Probably not, but it's a great starting point. First test, Mizuno JPX, Hot Metal 925 with a Dynamic Gold 98 stiff shaft. Felt solid, stable, and had good feedback. A strong contender. Next, the same Mizuno JPX Hot Metal 925. But with a Dynamic Gold 95 regular shaft. It felt a bit too whippy and less stable, like I had less control through impact. Stiff was definitely better. Switched to the Mizuno JPX Hot Metal Pro with a Dynamic Gold 105 stiff shaft. Liked the shaft better than the 98, but the head felt too small for me. I don't love asking, but the YouTube algorithm does. So drop a comment, even if it's just rookie swing or your favorite golf term. It actually helps a ton. I wanted to see how the Mizuno JPX Hot Metal 925 performed across the face, so I tested it again with a Dynamic Gold 95 S200 stiff and a face impact sticker. Contact felt solid, but then I tried the R300 regular, and the S200 stiff still felt better, easily my favorite overall. I wanted to test the older Mizuno JPX 923 model to see if I could notice much difference. They only had the Pro version, so I gave it a shot with a KBS 105 shaft. Didn't like it. The head was just too small for me. Next, it was time to try out some Ping irons. I had tested the Ping G730 about a month ago, so I decided to skip those and focus on the Ping G430 today. This time we had a Trackman setup, so I could see more data on every shot. Some fitters actually hide the numbers on the hitting screen and only share the data afterward. The reason? Good players can adjust their swing on the fly to make almost any club work, which can skew the fitting results. But let's be real, I'm not that good. My swing is what it is, so I had full visibility. Time to see what the numbers said. For the Ping G430, my lie angle was a black dot, matching my measurements. My current clubs are orange or red dot, which I had no clue about when I first got them. I tested the Nippon NS Pro 850 and 950 in stiff and regular. The regular felt just like my current clubs, and brought back my usual left miss. But the stiff flex? Absolute butter. Now I get what a pure strike feels like. My face angle was a bit closed, so ball striking wasn't my best, but feel was a 10 out of 10, and the distance was impressive. Probably some loft jacking compared to my old set, but still really solid. I wanted to test more shafts, but a group fitting was booked, so I only had 10 minutes. Not ideal, but I made the most of it. Next up, I tested the Srixon ZX5 Mark II irons, a player's distance iron designed for low to mid handicappers. No idea why I was hitting these, but hey, you never know. Gotta keep an open mind, right? They look great, have a premium forged feel, and pack plenty of power. But for me, they felt a little hard to hit. Then I moved to the ZX4 irons, which are built for mid to high handicappers with a hollow body design and extra forgiveness. But they had a graphite shaft, and I really didn't enjoy the feel. Swapping back to the ZX5, even that felt better, maybe because of the steel shaft. Then I found a Srixon ZX4 with a Steel Tour 105 shaft, and this was my favourite from Srixon. It didn't feel as soft as the Mizuno, and I could feel the impact more in my hands. That could be down to a few things: ball, grip, or even just the club design, so I won't read too much into it. But overall, it felt really solid. After a month of testing different irons, I narrowed it down to my top picks. A few I couldn't film, but here's how the ones I did test ranked, from worst to best. 5th, Ping G730 irons. Forgiving but felt heavy and clunky. Easy to hit but lacked the soft feel and feedback I wanted. 4th, Callaway Paradigm. AI Smoke. HL irons. High launch, strong distance, maybe too strong with loft jacking, felt too light and too many shots went left. 3rd, Srixon ZX5 Solid and responsive, but not as soft as Mizuno. Great option, but Mizuno edged it out on feel. 2nd, Mizuno JPX Hot Metal 925. Smooth, stable and forgiving. Great control and Mizuno's signature soft feel. Almost the winner. 1st, Ping G430 irons. The best feel of any iron I tested. For the first time I could actually feel where the club face was at impact. I also hit the new Ping G440, but for the price, the G430 was the better value. One thing I didn't get to try were some of the direct-to-consumer irons, like Takomo, Vice Golf, and Caley. These brands have been getting a lot of attention for offering premium clubs at lower prices, but the challenge is, you can't just walk into a store and test them. It's tough to buy a set of clubs online without hitting them first, but I'd love to know, how do you think they would have stacked up against the irons I tested? If you've played any of these, let me know in the comments. Okay, so let's get down to business. I'm pretty much set on the Ping G430 irons. But before making the switch, I need to see if a shaft upgrade in my 10-year-old Ping G30s could be just as effective. Would a full fitting for the G430s give me the best results, or is there still life left in my old set with the right tweaks? Time to dig into the data and find out. Alright, this just got interesting. I'm hitting some of the best shots I've ever had with my current clubs. Pure strikes, straight down the middle. Can the G430S actually top this? And just when you think you know where this is going, I've got a surprise club to test. Stick around, this could change everything. Alright, time to put the Ping G430 irons through one final test, dialing in the perfect shaft. I won't make you sit through all the shots, but let's just say, I hit 157 shots today on Trackman. I tested a mix of Nippon, Dynamic Gold, and KBS shafts to see what actually works best for my swing. Let's break it down. If you're getting fitted for irons, here are the biggest mistakes to avoid, some of which I almost made myself. First, ignoring lie angle. Mine was 2 degrees off, and that alone was enough to mess with my accuracy. Then there's chasing distance over consistency. Some of the irons I tested gave me crazy distance, but my mishits, all over the place. Next, not testing multiple shafts. When I first started, I bought a second-hand set for the first 6 months. But after talking to different pros and fitters, I realized just how much the right shaft actually matters. Another big one, forcing long irons. I tested some 3 and 4 irons I had no business hitting. For a high handicapper, hybrids or fairway woods are just the smarter move. And finally, skipping gapping checks. At one point, my 7 iron and 8 iron were flying the same distance. That's a sign something's way off. I spent a lot of time researching and talking to fitters to figure out what might actually help my game. And honestly, some of these mistakes, I would have ignored them completely because I had no idea they even mattered. So if you're going for a fitting, hopefully this helps you avoid the same mistakes. Much like my golf game, this channel is a work in progress. Stick around for the chaos. Hit subscribe. I was so happy with this club, it felt so nice. I wasn't fully aware of each shaft. Sure, I glanced at them, but I couldn't remember the shafts from my other fittings. So, I was hitting blind, purely focusing on the data and feel. And wow, this felt incredible. That same super soft, pure contact I'd been chasing. What I really loved was how the club head felt heavy in the right way. I could actually feel its position through the swing, like it was connected to my hands. Meanwhile, my fitter was just laughing. Maybe he knew all along from the data. Just when I thought we were done, my fitter wanted to mix things up. He built a club, handed it to me and said, "Don't look, don't think, just hit it." Easier said than done, because as soon as I set it down, the club face felt tiny. But I trusted the process and gave it a go. Unbeknownst to me, I was hitting the Ping I230, a player's iron made for mid to low handicappers. And while my shots weren't terrible, I felt pretty uncomfortable over the ball. Finding the center of the club was a struggle, and even when I did, the distance just wasn't there. Probably due to a mix of less forgiveness, less compression, and not quite enough swing speed. It was a fun experiment, but this just proved I need forgiveness, not a tour-style iron. After testing a few more shafts, one thing became clear. I need forgiveness more than workability. I liked the feel of some of these clubs, but to hit a good shot, I had to focus 100% just to control the club face. And even then, my mishits were way worse than with more forgiving irons. At the end of the day, my whole mission, both for my game and this channel, is to make golf easier. And these clubs, they didn't fit that. My fitter and I were standing there looking at the Trackman data, and this is where things got really interesting. I always thought launch and stopping power were just about the club itself. But turns out it's a mix of loft, club head design, shaft, and even my swing. The key to stopping power isn't just spin or launch, it's descent angle. A steeper descent helps the ball stop quickly, while a flatter landing leads to more rollout. In my case, playing in Thailand, stopping the ball on firm greens is a challenge. My approach shots would land and run, rarely holding unless the greens were soft. But seeing the data, I realized launch and spin affect descent angle, which is what really controls how the ball reacts on landing. Stronger lofts launch lower, making stopping the ball harder. Club design matters too. Game improvement irons launch higher with more spin, while players' irons are designed for more control but demand precision. Then there's the shaft, which I hadn't considered. A softer tip can increase spin and launch, while a stiffer tip keeps it lower. Shaft weight affects timing and strike consistency, and even my attack angle and face control play a role. Some setups gave me higher flight and more spin, while others launched lower and ran out more. But the biggest takeaway, it's not just one thing. It's how loft, club type, shaft, and swing all work together to control descent angle and stopping power. Before this, I had no idea how much these factors combined to influence my shots. But after seeing the data, it finally clicked. Okay, that's great, Matt, but what does that actually mean for me? Well, as we finalize the setup, we need to take a closer look at lofts. As you know, my Ping G30 irons are 10 years old, and a lot has changed in club technology since then. One of the biggest changes? Loft jacking. Loft jacking is when manufacturers strengthen iron lofts, reduce the loft angle, to make clubs hit farther, often as a selling point. While it does increase distance, it can also lower spin, reduce stopping power, and create gapping issues between clubs. Most major brands do this, including Ping, Callaway, TaylorMade, Cobra, Titleist, and Mizuno. Let's take the 7-iron as an example, since it's the club used in most fittings. My Ping G30 7-iron has a 30.5 degree loft, while the newer Ping G430 7-iron is 29 degrees. That means the G430 launches lower and flies farther, but could also be harder to control on the greens. So now the question is, do I go with the stronger stock lofts for extra distance, or do I adjust the setup to prioritize stopping power and control? Looking back, there are a few things I wish I had known before buying my first set of irons, even though they were second-hand. First, I bought them online without knowing my specs. I had no idea about shaft flex, lie angle, or even grip size. I just grabbed a set that seemed decent for beginners. Then there was the shaft issue. My first set had graphite shafts with regular flex, which felt too light and didn't give me enough control. I had no clue how much shaft weight and flex actually matter. And finally, lie angle, something I didn't even know existed. My clubs were 2 degrees off, which definitely didn't help my already inconsistent shots. If I could go back 6 months, here's what I would do differently. Use range clubs or borrow from friends for the first few weeks, just to get a feel for the game. Get a basic fitting early, not to buy new clubs, but just to get my core stats like lie angle, shaft flex, steel versus graphite, and grip size. Still go with second-hand forgiving clubs, but now armed with the right specs, making it so much easier to find a good used set. If you're looking for second-hand clubs, check out Global Golf, Second Swing Golf, golf clubs for cash, Golf Bidder, or Facebook Marketplace. Even the top brands like Callaway, Titleist, and TaylorMade have pre-owned sections on their websites. Going into this fitting, my goals were simple. More consistency, better distance control, improved forgiveness, and clubs suited to my swing speed. Some of my irons went the same distance, my misses were unpredictable, and I wasn't sure if my shafts were helping or hurting my swing. After all the testing, I decided on the Ping G430 irons to replace my old G30s. I went with a 6, 7, 8, 9 iron, pitching wedge, and a 45-degree wedge. The lie angle is Black Dot, Ping standard, and the shaft is the True Temper Dynamic Gold X Tour, issue S200 in standard length. I also switched my grips from mid-size to regular. One of the biggest changes, I had the loft angles adjusted by +1 degree, which makes the lofts weaker. This helps launch the ball higher, adds more spin, and improves stopping power on the greens. It also brings the lofts closer to my old G30 irons, which should make the transition easier. Swing weight stayed the same. Let's get to the key takeaways, especially if you're a high handicapper or beginner golfer wondering if a fitting is worth it. And to be clear, a club fitting isn't some magic fix. It won't suddenly transform my swing. But it did make bad shots less punishing and gave me way more consistency. So, was it worth it? Absolutely. My swing still has flaws, but now my clubs aren't working against me. Would I recommend it? 100%. If you struggle with distance gaps, accuracy, or feel, a fitting takes the guesswork out of your setup and gives you confidence in your clubs. The biggest surprise? Shaft weight, lie angle, and loft adjustments mattered way more than I expected. I never realized how much these small changes could impact ball flight and feel. Who should get fitted? Honestly, if you can get the ball in the air and make decent contact, you're ready. Beginners benefit more than pros. Pros can adjust. We need all the help we can get. It's not about hitting perfect shots. It's about making the bad ones better. The right clubs make golf easier, more forgiveness, better launch, and more control. If you're struggling with your irons, I highly recommend getting fitted. It won't fix everything overnight, but it's one of the best ways to make golf easier and more fun. And if you're ever unsure or just want to hang out with a bunch of other high handicappers, come join the Roundtable Golf Club. No pros, no egos, just a group of golfers trying to get better and make the game a little easier for ourselves. I'll drop the link in the description. Here's a little spoiler. My new irons have arrived. I can't wait to get these out on the course and see if they actually make a difference in my game. If you want to see how they perform, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss the first round with them. And if you'd like to see an updated what's in the bag, let me know. I've got a few more surprises in there. See you in the next round.